What's up YouTube, and welcome to today's video. As you can see, we have the tank off and the intake off as well on our 2014 RSV4 because we are going to be doing the 2016 RSV4 RF Airbox upgrade. Now there's two major differences in the airboxes. As you can see on this one, this has a downward facing intake air filter, whereas the 2016 is going to have like a ram air style filter, and it's going to sit in the front like this. You can get this kit from AF1 Racing. I'll put the link in the description below to the exact kit itself. This kit's going to run you about $250 to almost $300 depending on if you just get the kit from AF1 with the stock air filter, or if you're like me, you want to go a little bit above and beyond, a little bit more airflow, and get a sprint filter. Now the nice thing about this as well on AF1's website, when you go to the kit itself, it will break down every single part in the kit. And what I did was, just copied and pasted the part numbers, put them in the search bar in AF1, and individually added them to the cart itself, leaving the air filter out, and then just picking up the sprint filter instead. Like I said, it's gonna net you probably an extra $30, $35 on top of the kit itself, but it's gonna let the bike breathe better. And on the forums, you're gonna expect anywhere from 2 to 3 horsepower mid-range from this upgrade alone. Now, when you get this is going to be completely all disassembled. It's going to come in 4 individual parts. You're going to have the bottom of the intake right here. You're going to have the 2 side for the pieces for the intakes, and then the spot for the filter itself. Now, at first I thought these went on the inside, but they actually go on the outside. And then this is going to clip together in here. On the bottom itself. I already went ahead and did this because it's like kind of tedious work, and these are going to be labeled SX and DX. SX, the S is Italian for left and D is Italian for right, so when you do that, make sure SX is going to go on the left side of the bike and then DX is going to go on the right side of the bike. And then this is just for the sensor holder down here too. You're going to reuse the Allen head bolt, not the Allen head bolt, the Phillips head bolt off the original intake itself, and just the end rather than off itself. And when you do this too on the forum, like I'll link the forum as well, the forum page down as well for the install. You need to reroute this front map sensor. Both of these hoses need to run underneath the fuel line, and then you want to make sure your injector coil wires are out of the way of the bottom of the airbox and the valve cover bolts here. So I kind of just tucked these underneath nice and neat, and then I moved the valve cover, not the valve cover, the injector wire kind of out of the way of the bolt and up and over there, and like that. But I'm going to go ahead and pause the video real quick, get this nice and snug and seated down in. You want to kind of take your time, make sure you get everything a little right. It's not going to line up perfectly. They already said in the forums it's not going to, but it's going to have maybe a 10 to 15 millimeter offset, and you're going to counter that with a spacer later on. So I'm going to go ahead and do this real quick, pause the video, and then we'll come back, and then I'll show you what we did after that. All right guys, we're back, and we finally got the bottom half installed. As you can see, everything's put back together. I have the stacks back on, and both of the map sensors. I'm going to tell you this right now, it is a little bit of a pain, and it's really not for the faint of the heart. So if you're not really mechanically inclined, or if you're really iffy about it, have someone do this, a professional do this. Especially maybe even when you're getting your 6,000 mile service done or your 12,000 mile service done, when they actually have to do the valves. They have to adjust the valves anyway. But once you get this in, it's going to be a really tight fit, and then the map sensor hoses are going to be, you're going to have to reroute them underneath the fuel lines to get them to fit, and even then it's a really tight, close fit, as well as the front injector wires too. I kind of like pulled it out and moved them over to this side so they weren't pinched off, which is a really good thing, but it's still a tight fit. And once you get it snugged in down there, you're gonna have to press down on this back part right here, and get one of these stacks kind of started, because it's not going to be like a super flush fit until you get these stacks started. Once you get the stacks started, you can go ahead and obviously tighten them down, get them snug, and then go back and redo them again. And then make sure if you do this, you have the stacks in the correct position from when you took it off. Now these are aftermarket stacks. They're shorter stacks on the front, and shorter, and a little bit shorter stacks on the rear, and these are also from AF1 Racing, and I can post them the link down below, or they should be in my bio somewhere too. So the next step after you get all this done would be to work on the top. So we're going to have to take all this off on the top of the original box and then move it over to the other box, top air lid. But what we're actually going to do is I'm going to go get the front air filter as well, and I can kind of show you how it's going to look compared to the old one. Now, like I said, I opted for not going with the stock filter, just because a lot of people in the forums say this is like the best fit. So we went with a Sprint filter in the that's the part number right there, you know, P08 filter. You really don't need a super duper high performance looking filter. You know, this is obviously going to be a heck of a lot better than the stock paper filter. It's going to flow a lot better, breathe a lot better, but I think it's going to work 100 times better than the factory one. So I'm going to show you the difference, even though my 2014 one is dirty, but this is a DNA filter. Like this is going to run you about 60 bucks. This one here is obviously, you can see through it, so, but it's still going to be really effective. This one ran me about 104. There is a K&N filter and a DNA filter that is a lot cheaper, but it's not going to be probably as efficient, or it's not going to breathe as good as this Sprint one, but it's going to be still better than your paper filter. So if you don't want to spend the extra cash, you can go ahead and get one of those. I think they're like 60, 70 bucks versus, you know, 90, $100, and it's going to net you around the same price as the stock filter kit is in general, because I think the stock Aprilia filter is like $90. So you could either go that route or just go, you know, spend the extra cash and go with this route, and then it's literally just going to sit in like that. And I have a rubber fitting too. I'm going to have to put around this too when I get this ready to go. So, you know, it's just literally just like that. And it's going to give the bike more of like a Ram Air style versus that top down before, because it would used to have to enter in, the stock one would have to enter in and go up through the filter and then back down through the throttle bodies, where this one's just going to come straight across and then down in, and it's going to, like I said earlier in the video, it's going to net you anywhere from 2 to 4 horsepower throughout the mid-range, and Gabriel Racing has proven that. They have dyno sheets. It's also on the forums as well. The link that I will post in the forums, in my bio down below, will have another link in there somewhere going to there showing the differences between, you know, the stock air filter and this filter upgrade. So I'm going to go ahead and get this top filter, this top lid off, and get it switched over to the new lid, and then when I get that, we'll come back to it. Alright guys, so as you can see we have the new lid uh, switched over and all of the components as well. When you do this, the ECU will just kind of pop out with these two prongs right here, and you can slide it out and move this out of the way. You don't have to unplug anything here or anything like that. And you'll flip this back. There will be a Phillips head right underneath this for the whole wiring harness too to come off the top of the box. So once you flip this back, you can unscrew this, get it out of there, and then for the ECU mounting bracket, there's 3 Phillips heads as well. There's going to be one underneath here and these two. Take those off. That'll come off nice and easy, and then you'll have access to your front bank injectors and your rear bank injectors, and those are also going to be Phillips heads. So you'll take both those out in the front and both those out in the rear, and then they're a little snug in there, but they're not too bad. You just, with a little bit of force, you can pop them out and, fold those back as well. And then the last thing you need to do on the back here is this kind of slides in like that, and you could pull that off. There's going to be 2 tabs here for these connectors. You're going to want to pop out of the old lid and transfer over to the new lid as well. I broke one, so don't do that. And then there's this sensor right here too. The easiest way for me was just to unplug this and take the lid off, because once you unplug this, take your injectors out and everything, you can get the lid will be separate by itself, and then you can kind of unscrew this on a table or wherever else you're gonna be doing this work. You can unscrew this and then it's easily transferred over to the new lid. And then once you get all this off the old lid and then onto the new lid, you can just reverse installation, screw this in, put your injectors in. Like I said, the easiest way to bring the new lid over here, pop your injectors in, screw those back down, and then pop your ECU mounting bracket back on, screw that in, and then this will clip right in. And then you could also screw the wiring harness back down as well. And then you can plug in that sensor back in as well. And then there is a supplied rubber grommet that goes on the bottom of this lid that you'll have to, I'll have to see here. No, my factory one doesn't have one like this one does, but you can kind of just, it's just like a regular rubber kind of almost like a hose looking thing. You just kind of feed it through nice and slow, and then you'll be good to go. And then you can just plop this back on. This one's going to be a little bit tricky. I don't know if it's just because it's new or not, or the plastic's just weird. But what I did is I started a bolt here, like kind of every other bolt here, and then and then 1 or 2 in the back, and then 1 on the sides, and then just slowly, evenly screw them down until you get a nice snug fit, and then you can add the rest of the bolts. Also, I didn't know that the new Airbox has 9 bolts versus the factory, the 2014 regular Airbox only had 8. So I end up pulling this bolt back out and putting it on the side for now, and then I'm going to go on AF1's website and go to the spare parts catalog for my year and find the Airbox and find an extra screw. If I do that, I mean, I'll link it down in the description below, and then I'll also link the actual kit for this and the filter that I got too, so you guys can get it yourself if you would like to do that. But other than that, it snapped in pretty well. Just take your time. The bottom of the box is definitely the most time consuming because it doesn't exactly fit right. You have to move the map sensor hoses around underneath the fuel rails on the front banks, and then screw everything back in. But I was able to dry fit the tank, and it fits pretty well. You will have to use a 10mm shim or spacer underneath the front of the tank mounting bolt if you don't have a factory, because the factory models, you should be able to move the engine positioning either up or down and lower the bike a little bit. But with the regular RSVR models, you can't do that. So a 10mm spacer should be sufficient. I'm also going to order a either a 5mm or 10mm longer mounting bolt. It's an M630. The stock one's an M635. I think they sell, Pro Bolts sells either an M640 or an M645. I'm just gonna get a longer one to compensate the added extra space. So it's, just a stock fit like it used to be, and go from there. I think you can get them for like, I checked, like $6 or $7. I can also put the link, that link in the description below to that bolt when I do find it. And other than that, you're good to go. You can, once you get everything done like this, you can put your tank back on. I still have a few more things to do before I put the tank back on, so I'm not going to do that. But that's going to end today's video. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, definitely put them down in the comments, and I'll try and get you those answers for you or not. But if you like the video, maybe give that a thumbs up, click the notification bell for future videos, and hit me up with a follow. That's going to be it. Next video, we are going to be installing new wheels and my sprocket kit finally. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be part 2 or part 3 of the kind of the weight loss of the bike. I have the factory wheels versus the regular cast aluminum, so that's going to be a big weight savings. Definitely going to a 520 sprocket kit and some titanium bits as well. So stay tuned for that video, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Peace.